Welcome back, guys. Patrick here. Moving on to the next question. We have to factor this expression here. So 16x squared plus 49 minus 36y squared minus 56x. So this one's going to be fairly tricky. We're actually going to have to do multiple factoring steps here. So let me rewrite it over here. It's kind of tough to see what to do initially, but you can kind of work with this and see is anything possible. Notice we can't really factor here, even though the square root of 16 is 4, square root of 49 is 7. That's smooth. This is not like a difference of squares here because we have this positive, so can't do that. Then we got this minus 36y squared, 56x. It's just kind of weird. We have different variables. And what you have to actually do in this case is you have to rearrange this. You have to realize that what we can do is bring this negative 56x here. And then we can factor these three terms. And then this is actually going to be a perfect square trinomial. And then with that and this, we could factor it as a difference of squares. Right? So I know that's not the best way to sort of explain it, just telling you what to do, but the more practice you get with these kind of complex type of expressions you have to factor, the more you'll start recognizing these patterns and knowing right away that you have to do that. So first step would be to factor this over here. And this, it's going to factor into 4x minus 7 to the power of 2, because 16, if we square root that, it's going to be 4. If we square root 49, it's going to be 7. Now, if you did want to show this the longer way, the decomposition way, we can do that as well. So if we have 16x squared minus 56x plus 49. The reason why I went to this step right away is because we kind of know this has to be a perfect square trinomial. And so these are going to be the square root of 16, square root of 49, and then this sign is going to be here. But if you did want to show it the longer way, you could take the a and the c value, multiply them, and then that would give us 784. And then the b value is the negative 56. So what two numbers multiply to add up to negative 56 and multiply to 784? If it's a perfect square trinomial, the numbers are actually going to be the same. And in this case, it's minus 28, minus 28. And so we can now break this down into minus 28x, minus 28x. Right? We're decomposing that negative 56. From here, we could factor out a 4x. And then from here, we could factor out a 7. And we'd be left with 4x minus 7. And then these two brackets should be the same. And we're left with 4x minus 7, which would be 4x minus 7 to the power 2, which is what we got here. Right? So whether you recognize this has to be a perfect square trinomial in order to factor with this, and then maybe you could check it. If we expanded it, we'd have negative 28x minus 28x in the middle, which would give us negative 56x. Or if you want to go the longer way, or if your prof demands for you to go the longer way to show all of the work in detail, you could do it this way as well. So whichever way you do it, this factors into this, then we got minus 36y squared, and then this here, notice it's a difference of squares, right? A squared minus b squared, which is equal to a minus b, a plus b. It's just now the a in this case is the 4x minus 7, right? So we'd have like 4x, actually let's rewrite it over here. We'd have 4x minus 7 squared, so it's already in this format. So that's the a, and then this 36y squared we can rewrite as 6y to the power 2. We could square root the 36 and the y squared, and it would give us that. So we have a squared minus b, the b is the 6y squared. So it's in this format. Now we could plug it in here. So we'd have 4x minus 7 minus 6y minus the b value times 4x minus 7 plus the b value plus the 6y. Sometimes this is going to be a bracket itself, so the minus here, you would distribute that. And then the positive one, you wouldn't have to distribute. You could just write out the bracket as is. But in this case, it was just this one term for the b, so I just wrote it out like that. All right, so this here ends up being the final answer. Sometimes you can simplify these brackets further as well in some expressions you factor. In this case, you can't simplify it any further. There's no like terms in the brackets to simplify. So this ends up being the final factor form for that.